Hello, and thank you for joining our webinar, Open is for All, Accessibility in K-12 Open Education. My name is Aujalee Moore. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Instructional Materials Coordinator for Oregon Department of Education. And I am joined by my colleague, Debra Fitzgibbons. Deb, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, certainly. I'm Debra Fitzgibbons. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the coordinator for the Oregon Technology Access Program.
Thanks, Deb. Today, we're here to talk to you about the importance of accessibility, accessible educational materials, and how you are able to fit the accessibility mission into your initiatives around open educational resources. I'm going to pass it over to Deb to get us started with the importance of AIM, or accessible educational materials.
So in the world of education, we know that it's all about acronyms. So we want to first make sure that we are all on the same page as far as our common vocabulary. And so first we talk about accessible. What is the definition? And I'm going to go ahead and read this in case we have those who require that for access. This is from the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Civil Rights. Accessible means a person with a disability is afforded the opportunity to acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services as a person without a disability in an equally effective and equally integrated manner with substantially equivalent ease of use. So they need to be able to obtain the same information as fully, equally, and independently as a person who does not have a disability. Although this right may not result in identical ease of use, with so many different people and formats that may be used. Compared to that of persons without disabilities, it still must ensure that there's equal opportunity for all learners to take advantage of the educational benefits and opportunities afforded by the technology and equal treatment in the use of such technology. So the real key here is equivalent ease of use. So what is AIM? That's accessible educational materials. And those are print and technology-based educational materials. That includes all of the printed and electronic textbooks that may be used for a class, all of the related core materials, including teacher-created materials that are designed or converted in a way that makes them usable across the widest range of student variability, regardless of what format it's in. So this includes our print, digital, graphic, audio, video. All of the materials that you're using in the classroom need to be accessible to all of the students in your classroom. So when we consider the key components of accessible open education, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. That's POUR. An easy acronym for us to remember that means that it all needs to be perceivable. It makes it possible for all your learners to see and hear the information. And so what may be some of the things that you would do to guarantee that it's perceivable? Well, maybe you're going to add text descriptions to your images, including closed captions and transcripts, making sure that there's a good contrast between the colors for readability, and making sure that your text is readable and legible. So that's the P of POUR. The O is operable, where it helps all your learners navigate the information independently using their preferred tools. So what are some of the things that we may want to consider there? Well, in your structure, really looking at making sure that you have ample headings so that a person can tab through, creating descriptive links, providing sufficient time, and avoiding content that flashes. Understandable, the U. Understandable supports your learner's understanding through a consistent and predictable design. So that means that you're going to provide clear directions, aim for consistency across all of your work, using plain language and identifying that language, making it clear and understandable. The R for robust works for your learners on a range of current and future technologies, including assistive technology. So some of the things that you might want to do here are provide descriptive metadata, perform accessibility checks. And most of our programs have accessibility checker embedded, and then test for accessibility with people. If you know somebody who has a visual impairment, test to make sure that that works with all of your learners. So again, the key components, those standards, are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. POUR.
Thanks, Deb. Now we're going to move into the accessibility features that are available within OER Commons. In Oregon, we host our Oregon Open Learning Hub on ISKME's OER Commons platform. And OER Commons has integrated a variety of tools that make it easier to ensure that your OER are AIM, accessible educational materials. The first tool that we would like to demonstrate is an authoring tool that will help make your materials authored in OER Commons more accessible. While materials that are submitted from web should follow the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines for the web page that they are contained on, when you're authoring in OER Commons, you should be able to make sure that your materials are accessible by using the accessibility checker feature. And you'll see this small little person in a circle in the formatting bar of OER Commons, and that's what you would use to start the accessibility check. I'll go ahead and demonstrate with one of our resources in Open Author. So on the screen, I have pulled up the Open Author page. I've clicked in to the main content section, and I have a lesson I am going to create within Open Author. So with a magic copy and paste, I have added all of the text for my lesson plan. However, I want to check to make sure that the content is accessible before I start uploading it. Oh no! There are 152 accessibility warnings. And in order to make this lesson more accessible, we need to go ahead and do some fixes. Luckily, OER Commons Accessibility Checker will not only tell us what the accessibility error or warning is, it will also give us a suggested remediation or quick fix so that we can make our lesson accessible in an efficient manner. So now I'm going to go through, and using the quick fixes, OER Commons is going to help me determine what the right heading level is for each of the different lines within our materials. I'm going to save us some time today, and I'll work through the rest of those accessibility warnings later. But for now, I want to remind you that using the accessibility check tool in Open Author is a great first step to ensuring that the OER you create in Open Author are accessible. The next thing that I would like to demonstrate is a search feature. So if you are curating resources or looking for resources to use in your classroom, this is a feature that will help ensure that the resources you are looking for have the appropriate accessibility features embedded within them. This is one of the reasons that meta tagging is so important within OER Commons. When we add tags to our resources, it helps increase the reliability of the search results. Meaning, if I tag a video I'm uploading to OER Commons as having closed captions, it will make it easier for other people who are searching for resources that include closed captioning. This is really helpful because if a student requires a specific accommodation, a teacher, a special education coordinator, a case manager, parent, whoever's working with that student can use this search feature to find resources that specifically accommodate the needs of that student. This is a great tool to ensure that all students in the classroom have equal opportunity to the educational benefits and opportunities afforded by OER and the technologies used to access OER. On the screen, I have pulled up the OER Commons homepage. And on this page, there is the search bar, handy dandy, right at the top. This can be used to add key terms that somebody would like to search for. There's also a drop-down for subject, education level, and standard. So somebody can put in a keyword like Spanish and go and find the Oregon World Languages Standards and search for resources that are aligned with Oregon standards. The accessibility feature, however, is found within the advanced search menu. So I'd like to find resources for Spanish instruction, and I'm going to scroll down to accessibility. And you'll see on the screen there are a variety of accessibility features that can be toggled on or off depending on the needs of a student. Today, I'm going to be searching for Spanish resources that include captions. I'll scroll down to the bottom and select search. Now, OER Commons is going to perform a search for me that has Spanish resources that include captioning. I now have 29 results of OER that include closed captions that I could use within our classroom for Spanish instruction. Let's go back to our search and assume that a student would also be able to use a transcript instead of captions in order to access the content in the classroom. I'm go ahead and add transcript. I went ahead and I added transcript as a search filter. Now you can see we have 31 results. It's important to note that the results increased instead of decreasing. The way the filter is operating is saying the resource has captions or a transcript. It doesn't necessarily mean that the resource contains both. So you'll need to click into each individual resource to determine that the accessibility features are what your students need and are looking for. Thanks for taking some time to walk through those features with me. I hope that they were helpful for you and that you'll be able to utilize them as you search for OER and author OER within the OER Commons platform. Next, we're going to spend some time looking at a use case coming from Oregon Department of Education and the Oregon AIM cohort. The two groups have collaborated and used Oregon Open Learning, which is Oregon's K-12 OER Resource Hub, to find a collaboration space to help advance the mission of both the agency and the Oregon AIM cohort. I'm going to pass things over to Deb, who's going to give a little bit of context about the Oregon AIM cohort. Take it away, Deb.
Thank you, Aujalee. AIM, Accessible Educational Materials. It was really highlighted throughout the last few years, and the importance of making sure that everything is accessible when everything really needed to be online. And it really awoke people's awareness of who might we be leaving out if we're not talking about accessibility. So the AIM cohort started with a grant, a technical assistance grant that we wrote through the National AIM Center. And we were chosen as one of 7 states. You'll see here that Georgia, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, and West Virginia have been engaging with each other and with the AIM Center in putting forward some of our goals to make K-12 education more accessible, and beyond that, across the lifespan. We know these conversations really need to begin as early as possible in early childhood and go all the way through transition into post-secondary and workforce. So we assembled a cohort of people from across the state in K-12 and with partner districts and partner agencies to be able to come together and talk about and plan. And we came up with 3 primary goals that we wanted to accomplish over the 4-year period. And the first is no small task. It is creating a statewide process and procedures for making sure that all of our kids have access to AIM. So a statewide procedure, guidance, guidelines. We have a work group who is working on on several documents to distribute and help people who are working in IEPs, but also just for the general population and helping people to get the features and preferences that they want to be using. So we are working on that as a project. We have another one that is a work group who is really focused on creating a manual guidance for kids and helping them to learn what they need for accessible educational materials to meet their goals and their curriculum. And we want them to know what they need, but also to be able to advocate for it. So we are producing a guide that is going to be used in our schools and help kids with worksheets to really start practicing and being able to advocate for themselves in what they need. The third prong of our goals is all about the communication plan. And once we get all of these things together, well, where will they live? And that we chose as the OER Commons. All of our materials, all of our videos that we are creating are being housed in one spot, one accessible spot that can be used, and we can guide people there around the state. And so these are our primary goals. And really our main goal was to build relationship with all of the people across the state who are the stakeholders, who are working deeply within this project, but making sure that we have conversations and build relationship that will help us sustain this work beyond the 4-year grant.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, Deb. So as Deb mentioned, there is a lot of work happening within the Oregon AIM cohort, and it's work that we want to be able to share, not only across the state, but across the nation and even internationally, as other nations and states are trying to find what their coordinated system for providing AIM might be. And for that reason, we decided in our communication work group to use our Oregon Open Learning Hub as the communication platform for our project. And the intention behind this was twofold. The first is that we would have a one-stop shop for districts to be able to come and find the guidance documents, templates, professional learning resources, and tools that they need to assist their district in understanding and providing AIM in a timely manner. The other reason, though, was because if we used the Oregon Open Learning Hub as our repository for all of our deliverables from the grant, It also required that the work we were doing is openly licensed. So it means that all of the hard work of our cohort is able to not only be shared, but in many cases, it can be remixed and redistributed for other states and to meet the needs of the local context in other areas. So we're really excited about this project and the resource that we've created for our Oregon education teams, but also for education teams across the nation. On the slide, you'll find a QR code that you can scan that will take you directly to our Oregon Accessible Educational Materials group in OER Commons. There is also a bit.ly link up here at the top that is bit.ly/ORAEMG lowercase ROUP. So bit.ly/OR-AIM group. And if you go to that link, you will find our Oregon Accessible Educational Materials group. On the screen, you are seeing our Oregon Accessible Educational Materials group. And anybody can join this group as long as they have an account in OER Commons. You'll see that we have 184 resources, accessible resources, about accessibility and like subjects that are housed within this Oregon Accessible Educational Materials group. So if we scroll down, you'll see we have some pinned professional learning resources that have been created by our cohort members throughout the course of the grant. Also, on the left-hand side, we've created a folder structure with subfolders to try to make it easier for individuals to find the resources they're looking for. So you'll be able to see that there are, under legal procedures, there are 62 resources that are currently sorted into that folder. And we're working to organize them into all of their subfolders so that individuals who navigate to this page are able to easily find the resources that they're looking for. And as you can see, there are an abundance of resources. It's really about making sure that we're able to connect those resources to the folks who are looking for them. Thank you for taking some time to learn with Deb and I about accessible educational materials, open educational resources, and how we can merge the two of those initiatives. In Oregon, we try really hard to elevate the importance of accessibility, but the bright line across the nation is that materials need to be provided to students in an accessible format in a timely manner. So students who are experiencing disabilities or require alternate formats of materials need to have access to the same content at the same time as their peers. Even though it seems like this might be a really simple task and something that, of course, everybody would be on board for, it takes time, consideration, and being intentional about the selection of resources we put in front of our students in order to ensure that all students have access to the benefits of open education. In order to truly live in to our touchstones of equity, empowerment, and inclusion, we need to ensure that we have all students at the forefront of that mission, including students who need access to alternate formats or accessibility supports. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our Oregon Open Learning team at oreganopenlearning@ode.oregon.gov. And we'd be happy to assist you with any questions you have related to accessibility, open education, or our Oregon Open Learning Hub. Thanks for taking your time with us today, and I hope you have a great rest of the conference.